Attention! You are now accessing files labeled Gideon Paradox, Level Omega Classification. This information is non-public and accessing it violates every security protocol. In the winter of 1986, a specialized investigation unit, Project Chronos, was dispatched to an abandoned asylum in rural Maine. Their mission, to study a localized, repeatable temporal anomaly, a spatial area where the fundamental laws of time were breaking down. They were prepared for scientific curiosity. They were not prepared for the entity known as the Chronophage. The last recovered audio log captures a terrifying truth: the asylum wasn't haunted, it was consuming time. The entity's presence was confirmed by one final transmission, a distorted whisper that sounded like it was coming from 30 years in the past and the future, simultaneously. This is not simply a ghost story. This is the full, uncut recording found sealed inside the asylum's cornerstone. The tape contains raw audio logs, impossible visual distortion, and the terrifying, real-time realization by the field team that they were entering a dimension where time and space had become the demon's weapon. Once the paradox takes hold, your sanity is forfeit. The Gideon Asylum was a massive stone structure, operational until 1947 when it was shut down following a series of inmate disappearances documented as spontaneous vanishing. The official cause was listed as structural collapse. The truth was far more terrifying. Project Chronos, led by physicist Dr. Elias Vance and supported by Father Michael Rhodes, an experienced but pragmatic priest, was tasked with stabilizing the time anomaly. Their initial findings were clinical. Inside the asylum, physical clocks were erratic, randomly accelerating or decelerating by up to 40%. The true threat became apparent when the team established their command post in the main administrative wing. All personnel reported the same phenomena: the absolute absence of sound. No wind, no creaks, no ambient noise. Dr. Vance noted, the asylum is an acoustic void. It absorbs all vibrational energy. It is not quiet, it is silent in a way that defies physics. This silence was the first sign that the Chronophage, the time-eating entity referenced in ancient texts, was active. The team's primary evidence came from the recovered files of the last director, Dr. Leonard Hayes. His final, handwritten notes describe the asylum changing at night. The eastern wing is now 40 feet longer than it was at noon. The floor plan is fluid. The patients claim to see their own past selves in the corridors. The Chronophage was manipulating the asylum's geometry by manipulating the time required to traverse that space. But the entity needed to feed. And its next meal was the team's sanity. The anomaly began to personalize. Dr. Vance reported seeing a hallway that was physically identical to the hallway in his childhood home, complete with the carpet and furniture of 30 years ago. When he tried to enter it, the space snapped back to the decaying asylum structure. The entity wasn't showing them ghosts, it was showing them impossible temporal echoes. The team had entered the silent asylum, but they did not yet realize that retrieval of the data, or their own minds, meant crossing an event horizon created by a demon that consumes the clock. The logs from the second night document the systematic demolition of the team's shared reality. The Chronophage moved from manipulating space to corrupting time itself. The primary evidence is the temporal paradox captured by the audio log from technician Roberts. Roberts, shouting, "It's 3 o'clock. We start the test now." Vance, calm. Roberts, look at your watch. It's 1:45. We have an hour and 15 minutes. Roberts, panicking, No, I just saw 3 o'clock flash on the main clock. I ran 2 hours ahead. Roberts was experiencing localized time acceleration. His minute was suddenly 90 seconds, making him perceive his reality faster than his teammates. The Chronophage was separating them, making synchronized thought and action impossible. The climax of this phase occurred in the asylum's basement. The team descended to place a stabilizing device, but the floor plan had drastically changed. A simple, short staircase now felt like descending into an abyss. They took 40 steps, but their altimeters registered a drop of only 10 feet. The geometry was now hostile and constantly shifting based on their fear. This is where the entity finally revealed its method of possession. The Chronophage did not seek to enter their bodies, it sought to possess their minds by creating temporal loops. Father Rhodes, upon seeing the impossible geometry, experienced an instantaneous, catastrophic mental break. He began arguing with an echo of himself from 5 minutes ago, warning his past self not to trust the current team. Father Rhodes, two voices layered, shouting over each other, first voice, echoing, "It's a trap, Michael. They failed 3 minutes ago." Second voice, present, "Shut up, that hasn't happened yet. We are still safe. Stop talking about the future. The team was tearing itself apart, not through demonic whispers, but through temporal logic failures. They couldn't agree on what time it was, who was present, or what they had just witnessed. Dr. Vance, isolated and terrified, made a final, desperate move. He grabbed the emergency radio and transmitted a final warning, hoping to break the silence. Sound cue, loud, metallic burst of radio static, followed by silence. The chronophage responded. The instant the radio signal left the asylum, the entire structure responded with an accelerated silence. The remaining time in the investigation was instantly consumed. The camera logs show a brief, violent flash of light. When the light subsided, the geometry had fully collapsed. The team had vanished, leaving only a single, active audio device recording the terrifying final moments. The final phase of the Gideon Paradox is documented on a single, short loop recovered by the military retrieval team days later. The retrieval team found the Gideon Asylum exactly as it had been left, structurally sound, but completely empty. There was no sign of the team, the pastor, or any of the specialized equipment. The only item recovered was a hidden audio recorder, found taped beneath a cracked floorboard. The loop was chilling. Dr. Vance's voice, slow, calm, utterly defeated, the anomaly. It didn't consume us. It consumed our time. The chronophage took the moments we spent inside. It erased our timeline from this present moment. The analysts determined that the chronophage's final act was not to kill them, but to retroactively erase their presence. The team never left the asylum because the moments they occupied after they entered simply ceased to exist in the exterior world. They were locked in a perpetual, timeless void within the asylum's distorted geometry. Visual, fade to official documents stamped, Gideon Paradox, temporal erasure confirmed, case closed. However, the final seconds of the tape contained a massive, shocking anomaly that shook the entire Project Chronos team. Sound cue, the sound of the ticking clock, which was previously slowed down, suddenly returns, but it's out of sync. It ticks backwards. As the ticking clock is heard, a voice, clear, calm, and utterly familiar, is heard speaking, Dr. Elias Vance's voice. But the transcript confirms he is saying something he could not possibly know. Dr. Vance's voice, calm, clear, the anomaly is contained. It took the Gideon team in '86, but we successfully used the chronophage to stabilize the current operation. Now, we wait for the next unit to arrive. We wait for Unit 43. The final twist, the voice was Dr. Vance, but he was speaking 30 years into the future, confirming that the entity did not just erase the team, it turned them into the observers. Dr. Vance's final log suggests that the Gideon Paradox was never about containment, it was about creating a stable, timeless prison used by the organization itself to continue its operation, sacrificing successive teams to maintain the temporal lock. The chronophage did not win, it was harnessed. The final question remains, if the asylum consumes time, and Project Chronos is using the asylum, who is the demon truly working for? And when Unit 43 arrives, who will be recording their final, silent moments? Sound cue, the backwards ticking clock sound fades slowly into heavy, unrelenting VHS static, which eventually cuts to black.